Today we're going to be talking about my 2024 Crested Gecko pairings, where the gecko you just saw, Atlas, is at the center of the 2 breeding projects that I've got started so far this year. And rather than stress him out a bunch, as I've done this intro about 15 times at this point trying to get it right for you guys and have him running all over the place while I'm just trying to get my words right, we can run pictures and video in the background, and he is chilling in his enclosure right now. So the first breeding project that I've got started so far obviously includes Atlas. He is a tricolor extreme harlequin crested gecko. Originally came from Brian at Altitude Exotics. I purchased him from Cape Coral Cresties. Got a great deal on him. He fires up super dark, and you can see by the pictures and video he has a ton of pattern to him. So much pattern that's spread all over the place. And the first female that he has been paired with so far this season that already has eggs, and we're expecting another clutch any day now, is my buddy's Red Phantom. No spots, no anything, just a clean Red Phantom. And we figured putting these two together would hopefully lead to some red harlequins, maybe some extreme red harlequins. But I love red geckos, and I've wanted red geckos, and I actually have a red extreme harlequin, but his base color is kind of muddy. And so through talking to some people and learning here, we've determined that this male extreme harlequin would probably do well with a Red Phantom. And since my buddy has this one, I figured, why not? It's ready to breed. Let's see what comes out of it. And it's cool to have a project with my friend who's been my best friend since I was 13 years old in 7th grade. He's the one who originally got me into crested geckos back in 2016. Then he re-got into them, and that's what sparked me getting more of them and starting to breed again in the first place. So that pairing has already been successful. We have eggs from it, expecting more, as I've already said, and I'm very excited for that. So that's the first one. Now, the second pairing is one that I am so extremely excited about. And there's a little bit of a story here to go with this one because I honestly wasn't even sure if it was going to happen this year. So as you can see, and if you saw my unboxing with Daisy here, she is a creamsicle lily white that originally came from Northern Gecko that I got from Houston Geckos. And I am so excited for Daisy to have successfully been paired with Atlas this past week. At least there was a confirmed lock with them. So we can see here, Daisy has some beautiful pattern on her. The base color is very clean. Let me try and get this to focus more. And I'm going to do the same thing with her that I did with Atlas with the green screen. I just figured she's way better mannered than he is. She will actually stay still, unlike Atlas. But that's all I want to kind of bother her for now. Let's go ahead and put her back and keep talking. So why did this almost not happen? Well, I got Daisy months ago and she was doing great. I had her in a temporary enclosure, paper towel in the bottom, eating, doing well, and everything seemed just fine. And then as soon as I put her into a more permanent enclosure with the bedding in the bottom of it with the cocoa fiber mix, whatever that stuff is that I put in the bottom, I'm going to be totally honest with all of this. I'm not going to pretend like I'm an expert in all this stuff. I'm just trying to learn as much as I can and take advice from people as much as I can. Just saying, not knowing the terminology fully and as best I can yet. We're on this adventure together. So put her in there and she just decides that she's not gonna eat anymore. And I don't know if it was me putting way more food in than necessary and she was eating a little bit, but she started to lose weight. And it got to a point where I have a video of it. I had her in my hand and she's walking and it seemed like she's trembling as she was walking. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. I'm doing everything you're supposed to do. Temperatures are regulated. Humidity is regulated. Everything's fine. I don't know what's going on. And so it got all the way to the point where I started to just be nervous about it. And I'm like, man, not only is this a very pretty gecko that I really enjoy having and is something that I really wanted to get, it's also an expensive investment and I'm kind of nervous about this. So I started to just feed her by hand every single day and kind of just make sure she was eating something. And it got to the point where I was like, man, I don't know what's going on. She lost weight all the way down to 34 grams. And, maybe that's normal. There's a lot of stuff through this experience that is normal that I had no idea about being normal. And maybe it is, and I didn't know about it. And I'm just kind of more nervous than I need to be. But she got to 34 grams, and I kind of just got to the point where I was like, I can't keep feeding this gecko by hand forever. So I stopped and I just offered food. And one day I woke up and looked in there and the food was completely gone. And since that day, she's eaten all of her food every single time I've fed, right a couple hours after feeding time. The food has been gone every single time. And she went from 34 grams just, I don't even know how long ago, to 42 grams in the matter of like a couple weeks to a month. And so I sent some pictures to Houston Gecko. I'm like, she's doing really well now. Everything seems great. And Houston Gecko said that, well, maybe she's ready to pair now. So I tried, and this is where the story keeps going. I mean, I don't know if this is entertaining to anybody else, but it's a story maybe that could help somebody. But so I started to try to pair these geckos together, and it took 3 times of me putting them together for something to happen. And partially I think that's down to inexperience in what I was doing and not 100% doing everything correctly, and also the circumstances of the geckos being put together. And I have video of all 3 of these that I can talk through now. So the first time I put them into this enclosure, and I didn't do it after turning the lights out for the night. Once they were awake, I kind of just, as soon as it got dark, I took them out of there, put them into the thing, then turned the lights off. And Atlas, for one, is a spaz, so he's running all over the place. And I think Daisy was interested the first time, but Atlas was not quite ready yet. And so he's running around, and I think that kind of just ruined it. And it ended up just being the 2 of them sprinting to the other corners of the temporary thing I put them in and being away from each other. And I'm like, you know what? I've waited for a while, kept an eye on them, and nothing's going on. So I just kind of gave up on the first time. So I did a little bit of research. I'm looking into things. I'm talking to some people, and I figure out that there's this test thing you can do where I'll show it. I don't need to explain, but I'll show it. You can test it to see if a female is receptive to a male. And so I tried that before putting them in next time. Also waited till after dark, turned the lights off, gave them some time to kind of wake up and do their thing. And then I did the test, put them in together, and Daisy seemed like she was more receptive than ever. It looked like she was doing some stuff that I can only assume was mating rituals for crested geckos, where she's like lifting her tail up and waving it like a flag, kind of very slowly, and approaching him. But I don't know, he just kind of seemed to not be ready yet at that point. She was approaching him, and when she would, it got to a point where it was over at that point. So then the third time I hear that if you put them into a smaller tank thing for breeding, it can help with that. I watched a couple of videos. I learned that you're supposed to spray down the inside of this temporary thing so that the humidity is up for the male. And so I put them in there together, sprayed it down, and at first nothing was going on. And then they started to kind of do their thing a little bit. And then finally, after a while, it happened. Everything went the way that it seemed like it was supposed to. Confirmed lock for several minutes. And that's where we are at this point. So I'm hopefully going to be looking for eggs here in the next month from Daisy with Atlas. And what I'm hoping for from this pairing is, because Atlas has awesome structure, Daisy has decent structure, and also the pattern of Atlas that's a little bit more spread out than Daisy's, where, you know, Daisy, you could see in some of these pictures and video, doesn't quite have as much patterning as Atlas. I'm hoping for geckos similar to Daisy that are that orange yellow, that clean look, that also have less pattern than Daisy. Like, I love the sides on her, but if there was less pattern up in the neck area and on the legs, I think it would look really cool. And I love yellow and orange lily whites. So when it comes to the lily whites from Daisy, I'm hoping for that. We'll see what happens from there. From the non-lily whites, I don't know. This is just my limited experience in breeding, talking about these things, but that is what I have so far confirmed for 2024 as far as pairings go. There's one other pairing that I was hoping to do at this point, but unfortunately the female is not up to weight. So I'm going to wait to talk about that, but there is more, and I'm exploring another female gecko right now that is almost up to size, just a few grams shy, that if I get it, I could do some very exciting things with another gecko that I have that's part of the two that I wasn't going to talk about yet. So there's very exciting things to come. If you want to learn more about it, definitely stay tuned. I appreciate you tuning in for this. And if you have any tips or what you think might come of the geckos that I have paired so far, let me know in the comments down below. Subscribe to follow my journey in crested gecko breeding, and hopefully we'll see you next time for another one. God, you almost said tomorrow. My BMX channel, I upload every single day, so I say we'll see you tomorrow for another one. But here, it'll be next time. See you there. Goodbye.